collective, welcome in. So happy to have you here always. My name is Deborah, owner of Purusha Holistic Wellness, and this is another episode of Purusha Intuitive, where we are going to look at trauma and healing through the lens of the tarot, astrology, Ayurveda, and any channeled messages that come through. So let's get into it. So obviously trauma healing, it's an intense topic, right? There's not a lot of rules, so to speak. It can be very ambiguous. We can go through times where we're feeling good, we're feeling strong, we're feeling empowered, like we're moving through things, just to be what feels smacked down again by the experience or triggers around that experience, etc. And this has definitely been a heavy theme lately in the collective. It's made things heavy, right? Heavy, like as if things aren't moving, as if there is no light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard not to feel like we're in a loop, on repeat, a repeated loop that is just playing out the old tapes over and over and over again. There's a desire from your heart to move forward, to see forward movement, to be able to move beyond this experience. And that is really hard. Trauma does get stored within the body in our deepest layers, the deepest layers of our tissues. And it takes a lot of self-love, self-care to work that stuff out. And again, like I was saying, it's not always linear, that path. We have to be open to whatever may come up for us in that day, in that moment. That's why I like to start off the readings with an energy cleansing. Just set the tone, set the vibe for the reading. Cleanse out any blocks, obstacles we might be coming into, places where we do feel limited. It's a really good time to set your own intention for the reading as well, especially if you've come in and you would like Spirit to speak to certain things that are on your heart, on your mind. Definitely give that over. Be open to receive. It's a really great way to personalize these collective readings. And I also do personal readings. I offer a variety of healing wellness services. Readings are one of them. If you want me to look at your specific situation, how it's faring, where it's headed, or if you are just looking for more of a realignment of self, mind, body, soul, I do energy healing as well as Ayurvedic or holistic wellness consultations. When we're feeling grounded in ourselves, that's what really allows us to process through and heal the trauma, right? Allow ourselves to let go, to release so that we can move forward. I would love to help support in whatever way possible. All the info to get into contact with me is in the description box below. All right, let's get into it. I bless you with pure love and light, pure source energy, pure loving grace. I release anything that is not for your highest and best. Any fears, doubts, insecurities, lack of worth, lack of value, pain, anger, frustration, impatience, overwhelm. Cleanse it and release it from our being so that we may see and understand the messages clearly and help to make me a clear and open channel for the collective. Thank you, Father God, Spirit guides, guardian angels, Mama Love, Mama Love. Amen. All right, so I was hearing for you, excuse me, I'm just gonna clear away the cinders. There's a lot of questioning. There's like a lot of wondering, wondering if you are protected, if Spirit does have your back. There's places where you feel like I was saying in the very beginning, where your energy feels assured, you feel confident, but then it just seems to get pushed down again. And this really goes back to what I was talking about in the very beginning, the way that the body stores trauma, right? We as humans are very good at shoving things down so we can keep moving forward. I mean, it's a practical response. We have a life that we have to keep up and running. No one wants to bottom out, right? But there is this value of like when our soul speaks to us, and we are in a time of huge transition, especially with Pluto moving into Aquarius. It's this offer. It's an offer to change the things that are really toxic and unhealthy, and especially for things that are better for your heart, your mind, your soul. Even if you've moved away from your trauma, even if you're not living in that experience every day, it still has a tendency to follow us, right? And that's where I feel like your spirit is calling to you, because as we are making changes, as we are stepping into this new time of Pluto in Aquarius, it is really bringing to the surface things that wounds. I love this. The cards never lie. I never cease to be amazed. It's, you know, those things are being brought to the surface right now, whether we like it or not. And oftentimes in energy healing, we understand that wounds come to the surface not so we feel defeated, not so we feel like we're going to be in this endless loop over and over and over again, or we're reliving that traumatic experience over and over and over again. It's not coming up to push you down. It's actually coming up so that it can be healed. And as I'm saying this, I'm reminded of how Venus is in conjunction with Chiron today. Chiron is the wound healer. It is what helps us grow and evolve and process through even these really difficult parts of life where there really aren't a lot of answers, you know, and sometimes answers don't even help. Sometimes they do, right? But a lot of times we're still left, when we're in our quiet moments, we're still left with the pain, with the sadness, with the residual of what has happened and what has been done. And I'm hearing that there is healing, right? Venus in Chiron, or in conjunction with Chiron, it's also in Aries. So that basically means that, like, what we have to do is love ourselves, give ourselves extra love, extra care right now. Really invest in your self-care, in your healing. Even if you don't have a lot of time throughout your day, 10, 15, 20 minutes, plugging that in, taking a break, meditating, doing some breathing techniques, journaling, anything, reading something inspiring, anything that you can do to kind of build your support, even if it is in those small spurts, goes a long way. It carries a lot of weight. And it looks like what's happening as you do is there is a release that's unfolding in the background. There's a wisdom that's coming through of what this process of healing is looking like for you. It's hard because right now things are not coming in as we've anticipated, as we've expected. Jupiter is tensely aspected and it's in Gemini. So we're seeing kind of things happen in a way that maybe even feels a little counterintuitive, or like I was saying earlier, like we're back in that space all over again. What I do love for you this week is there is this, yeah, that's so funny. Sorry. So there's, like I was saying, there's like this desire to heal, or healing is being required actually, because of the way it's coming up, because of the places that it is triggering, because of the ways that it is infiltrating your daily life, right? Those places that we do need to remain in balance, in control, which can be very difficult. I'm not saying, again, I'm not promoting to shove it down. It's about like knowing how to handle it appropriately, right? Like getting an outlet, talking to the right person, whether that's a therapist or a trusted friend, etc. Using your wisdom on when it's okay to have this justified rage. That's what I'm hearing, right? Like it's righteous. That's what I wanted to say. It's righteous rage, right? There are times that are appropriate for that, but maybe like not in the middle of your workday, or, you know, and here's the thing. I say it lightheartedly. We can't always control when those things come up, right? But that's also why we're doing this work, so we can uncover places where things are shoved so deeply down that we need to allow some of this. And that's exactly why we get ourselves in these pressure cooker type situations, because we're avoiding, because we're not dealing, because it's too painful. It is really painful, but there is a lot of courage. There's a lot of courage in being able to not only face these wounds, but there's a lot of wisdom that's gained from the experience as well. Sometimes and I mean this in the most light-hearted way or with the most love as possible. But sometimes when we think it's easier to not face it, right? We think it's easier to just not look at it, to avoid it, to pretend it's not there. When in reality, that just, in Ayurveda, it creates blocks, obstruction, and that's where we start to see disease. That's where we start to see disconnect. And it starts with our mental emotional, right? This isn't about, because as we've seen in this, that book, The Body Keeps the Score, it's a great book. I highly recommend it, especially if you want to understand a little bit more about how the body responds to trauma and healing and why it's so important. But, things get stuck, right? Like things get stuck. And even if we're not in that experience, we can be reliving it over and over and over again because of the traumas, right? So it looks like, I feel like you're in a space where you're remembering a lot of things, and it's a blessing and it's a curse, right? It's bringing up stuff that, again, feels like it's triggering a lot of emotions. And it doesn't necessarily have to be rage for you, right? Like it can just be an overwhelmment of emotion, crying, not being able to control oneself, etc. It feels, I don't know that you feel out of control. I think you feel, it shows that you're feeling tired from the experience, wanting answers to questions, wanting balance, wanting to feel a little bit more stable in self. And yeah, I don't know. There's someone around you that I feel like could help with that, but that's avoiding it. I feel like this is coming up because it's not necessarily going to be that way the whole time, I think that someone's going to be shown repercussions of their choices, of their actions. It looks like someone was trying to help someone out, and I feel like you ended up getting the short end of the stick out of this situation. And I feel like it's very difficult to find balance right now because of the way that it's affecting you. This might be something that is triggering a trauma, or it feels like a trauma as you're moving through it. I don't know though, because it does feel like this is about hitting old wounds, and you're in this place where you need to be a little bit more decided with yourself, with your energy. It's not just speaking to the injustice. Yeah, like I think that you're pointing that out. I think you're recognizing it and validating it, but not necessarily expressing it, right? And that's kind of where it's getting lodged in your body. I feel like this is someone needs to see, someone needs to hear, someone needs to understand. Maybe you need to connect with someone that I feel like you do need to open up. Maybe this is someone who will bring some wisdom with them as well. I feel like there are some obstacles that you're facing right now, and it is really hard to trust, but also there's not been very trustworthy people around you. Because as much as maybe someone's going to help you out, they're also helping someone else out. Or it feels, or maybe they have in the past. Maybe they're a part of the mess that you're currently in. And your energy, it's funny because like what you're saying is like, I just want to feel stable. I just want to feel like grounded and balanced. But you have all this earth energy in your environment, like within you right now, meaning that even if it doesn't feel that way, I feel like this is someone poking the bear or trying to poke the bear, right? Maybe someone is trying to, be difficult or not give you the validation credit. Or I'm also hearing like pointing the finger at you, making it your fault, making you the person who is to blame. And it's not necessarily true. And I see someone who maybe sided with that person once before, seeing it through a different lens. actually seeing kind of how this has been detrimental. Before I close this out, let me see what this person, they don't want to acknowledge it, because I feel like this is actually really hard for them too, because it's something that's humbling this person. And this is, you know, it's funny, as I was preparing for this reading, what I was hearing is it was like they were projecting their anger onto you, their anger, their hatred of themselves. They were punishing you for that, right? And it wasn't, you know, yeah, maybe they didn't like who you are, blah, blah, blah. They have their reasons, they have their justifications, whatever. But it ended up actually hurting things in the long run. And I feel like this awareness is going to be brought to that this week. I think you get a little bit of a, like it feels like you get a little bit of some validation, even if it's not direct. Even if it's not direct. It feels like it's coming more from your soul, honestly, from the spirit realm, however that vibes with you. Spirit, universe, God, angels, crossed over loved ones, wherever you feel like you gain that higher wisdom, higher knowing, because you feel peaceful as much as you feel worn out, run down, exhausted, over it. At the same time, there's this part of you has peace and acceptance. When you do, you know, other times maybe not so much. I think that's why this rage is so destabilizing, right? Because it's like everything in your energy is expressing like, I'm just kind of dotting my I's, crossing my T's, doing what I need to do, minding my own business. That's what I'm hearing, minding my own business. And then something comes along, you know, and this isn't just like whatever, getting triggered by a song or a memory or whatever. This is like someone intentionally trying to trigger you. Yeah. And you know that. You know, there's a part of you that does feel a little bit helpless. Like you're trying to, you know, search through the dark, essentially, where there's no light. Maybe you feel a little bit alone. Maybe you feel like you're not necessarily, but in these moments, in these times, this is when we connect with our soul on a very beautiful, deep, and intimate level. And that's really what it's showing this week, that like spirit is bringing you this healing in the form of wisdom, in the form of surrender and trust. There's only so much we can control, and oftentimes it's not a lot. And that can be really difficult, especially if we're dealing with someone who's incredibly toxic, who's very unhealthy, who's constantly trying to suck us back into their toxic patterns, etc. Remember that there's nourishment in those places too, though. You're stronger because of it, and not like I'm saying to go sabotage yourself or put yourself in harm's way. But I feel like it's also showing you how much you are growing, how much you are healing, how much you are moving through this stuff. Even look at yourself 3 months ago, 6 months ago, etc. It's hard to keep up. Yeah, there's the rat. I knew it. Oh no, that's the kiwi. The kiwi is very, sorry, I thought it was the rat because of this opossum, you know, because there is kind of this rat-like energy, or it's, you know, it's an energy of oppression. I think we're going to always see that anytime we're looking at the energy of trauma, because it's about control, right? It's about control. It's about manipulation. It's, especially if it's, you know, if you experience that with another. But what I love is the kiwi is this connected to divine feminine energy, right? Like being able to love on ourselves, that Venus conjunct to Chiron, being able to love ourselves, support ourselves, even if no one else is, or even when we have people strategically or, you know, intentionally trying to take us down, etc. That's their stuff. It doesn't make it easy to turn away from that, but you also have, like, there's a lot of power. There's a lot of power in your wisdom. As I was saying it, this card actually popped up with this stack. With your wisdom, with your innate knowing, I feel like it's spirit saying to really trust in yourself, trust in the process, even if it feels a little bit wobbly right now, you know. There's a lot to be had this week. I think that you're kind of vacillating back and forth between some of the difficulties, but be patient with yourself. You know, we're all in the astrology, we're basically being forced to kind of put our money where our mouth is, meaning, you know, we're finally being forced to put money down on ourselves, right? Believe in ourselves, invest in ourselves. Sorry, I don't know if that was coming out right, but hopefully you catch my drift. So thank you so much for your time, energy always. I hope you enjoyed the reading. I hope you found messages that resonated for you here. Definitely drop comments below if you did. I love to hear, or just say, hey, share in a little love, a little TLC. I so appreciate all the love, all the support that you bring to the channel. No, I'm sending it back your way.